Welcome, Dragonborn. My name is Nacho Bidness. And we're here in Skyrim, something of a departure for my channel. And you might ask why, and the answer is that we're going to go on a quest today. We're going to quest after the most powerful weapons and armor that can be gained in the game. And we're going to do it without exploits, we're going to do it without mods, and we're going to do it without cheats. These are things that are not found in any dungeon, but instead are the items that we can craft for ourselves. You can see here that my armor rating is 5,473 when I'm wearing my complete set of armor. My axe doesn't do 193, it does 1,932. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. The game actually cuts a digit off. The bow that I carry, along with the arrows that I use, does 2,012 damage. And that's not even to say of the additional damage that we do with the enchantments. It is, frankly, absurd. And you might wonder, well, why bother with such a thing? And the answer is that attaining these levels of power without using exploits or cheats is something that takes pretty much the course of the entire game, and you'll see why when I start covering the prerequisites. And that makes for interesting gameplay choices during the rest of the game. It means that I'm having to do things like choose to put perks into enchanting that I might have rather spent on a weapon perk or something like that. As far as why I'm making this video, it's because one of my favorite streamers was streaming Skyrim a while back, and he was using the Restoration Potion exploit. And he didn't take it to ridiculous levels like you can with that exploit, but he also said that he would often start the game but rarely complete it. And I think it's because there's not going to be much challenge left even if you only use the restoration exploit a little bit. And I just kind of wanted to show what the reward is if you're willing to put the time and effort in to get here without actually using that particular exploit. I also think that there's a lot of people that just don't know how this works. For example, the Skyrim wiki was incorrect for years, and I just kind of smugly said, yep, I can do better than what you say you can do on the wiki. It's since been corrected, but it still is something I think a lot of people don't know about. We're here at Winstead Manor to gather some equipment that we need, but I'm just going to show off a little bit. This is my sorcerer's retreat, and there are many dark forces at work here, so I don't have the wife and kids here. I've just got a couple of guardians for the place and my bard. One of the things that I've done is mostly decorate the wall plaques with unique staffs that you get throughout the game. I've also got a library full of books that are not repeats of each other, and because I just had a ridiculous amount of gold, I went and bought a second copy of every spell tome in the game, and that's what is filling up these particular shelves. Now, I mentioned that there are a number of prerequisites to get to these ultimate levels of power, and they are not for the faint of heart. First off, we are going to tread the path of the vampire, and we're also going to consort with Daedra. And finally, we're going to commit murder, all in the name of gathering power. From a roleplay perspective, this is not something that a lot of characters would choose to do, I think. But that is the character that I have chosen to play with this particular playthrough. As far as other prerequisites, we are going to need a bunch of skills and a bunch of perks. Beyond just being a vampire, we're also going to need at least 70 skill in restoration so that we can unlock the Necromage perk. The game text here says all spells are more effective against undead. What it really should say is that all spells and effects are more effective against the undead, because that includes things like enchantments and potions, as well as some other effects that we're going to abuse. As a vampire, we are undead, and so that means that Necromage also affects us. As a side note, I would recommend getting at least 60 in Destruction and getting the Shock, Frost, and Flames perks if you are wanting to enchant weapons and armor for extra damage or damage resistance. Other required perks and skills are we're going to need 100 in Enchanter, we're going to need all 5 of the Enchanter perk, we're going to need the Insightful Enchanter perk. We don't really need Corpus Enchanter, but it is the fastest path to unlocking Extra Effect. And Extra Effect is bonkers in what you can do with it. I would also recommend getting Storm Enchanter, Frost Enchanter, and Fire Enchanter if you are planning to get into creating resistant weapons, resistant armor against those elements, or weapons that deal damage in those elements. We are also going to need 100 smithing, because we're going to use a enchantment to increase our smithing abilities, but having the base start off at 100 means that we can achieve the maximum amount of improvement to weapons and armor. You don't necessarily need to have all of these perks for improving all the different weapon and armor types. If you would like to specialize in either heavy or light, you can go down just one side. But you will need 100 skill. Last thing that we're going to need here from the skills is we're going to need, there it is, 100 alchemy. We're going to need 5 points in alchemist. We don't really need physician, but physician unlocks benefactor, and we definitely need benefactor. I know that a lot of people find leveling alchemy to be extremely tedious, and to be frank, so do I, which is why I use a third-party app on my iPad called, appropriately enough, Alchemy. It allows me to create the highest value potions that I can from the ingredients that I have available, and the rate that you gain alchemy skill is directly related to the value of the items that you create. As a side note, again, when it comes to smithing, some people will say, well, just make like 1,000 daggers and you can level up smithing to 100. That is the slow way to do it. By far, the fastest way to level smithing is to make jewelry. If you get iron ore, get the transmute spell and transmute that iron ore into gold, take that gold ore, turn it into gold ingots, turn the gold ingots and whatever gems you can find into jewelry, and you will level smithing redonkulously fast. So So that's everything that we need in the skill tree, but we're going to also need a lot of ingredients and components and gear to make this work. We're going to need alchemy ingredients to make fortify smithing and fortify enchanting potions. And those include blisterwort and blue butterfly wings, glowing mushroom, hag raven claws, saber cat tooth, snowberries, and spriggan sap. As a convenience, we can plant blisterwort and glowing mushrooms in our gardens outside of our homes so that we can have a steady stream of fortified smithing potions that can also be used to help level smithing just a little bit faster. We can also plant snowberries, which means that we will always have at least half the ingredients we need to create fortify enchanting potions. So that's what we need for ingredients. We also are going to need some other bits of gear, including the notched pickaxe. This is available at the very tippy top of the throat of the world. It's way above Partherdax. It's a little bit hidden away, but it is thrust into an ore vein at the very top of the throat of the world, and it has a unique effect in that it raises smithing abilities. It's the only weapon that has that effect. So we can stack that on top of our armor abilities to increase smithing to improve weapons and armor even further. We're also going to want the Armor of Azadal. This is available in the Dragonborn DLC through a quest line called Unearthed. It is difficult to obtain, but it also has a unique effect that is not available anywhere else in the game. Hidden away under the text for Azadal's Boots of Water Walking is a line here that says, if you wear 84 relics of Azadal, plus 10 enchanting. This is the only gear in the entire game that increases enchanting. It's an incredibly rare effect, and so it is definitely worth getting and absolutely required for us to do the loop that I'm going to show you. We're also going to need some soul gems. For roleplay purposes, I choose to use 6 black soul gems to create my final set of gear, but they have no gameplay mechanic difference from those other 12 grand soul gems. I just like the idea that my character had to commit murder in order to fill those black soul gems and continue on his quest for power. The next things that we're going to need are down here in the cellar. I have pre-crafted a number of things. This cellar, by the way, is also why I do not have the wife and kids here, because it is full of Daedric artifacts. And, you know, just imagine if one of the kids managed to get their hands on Wabbajack or the flippin' Ogma Infinium over here. What we're wanting is over here in the corner, where I've got 4 dwarven metal ingots, because I intend to improve my dwarven armor as my final set of crafting gear. So we've got boots, bracers, helmet, and armor. That is mostly a thematic choice because dwarves were incredible enchanters and smiths and engineers. But there's also this effect called Ancient Knowledge, which is available through a side quest It says that you get 25% bonus when wearing dwarven armor, and blacksmithing increases 15% faster. I've never been able to determine if doing this loop with the dwarven armor really makes a difference, but I figure it can't hurt. Other things that we're going to need are we're going to need 4 necklaces, 4 rings, and I've just made several of each that are of increasing value, so as we do the loop we will increase the enchantments on each. We're also going to need 3 additional helmets and 3 additional sets of hand armor. Gosh, we've been going a long time and we haven't even actually started crafting yet, but as I said, this is not for the faint of heart. We're almost ready to begin at long last, but we can't do what we need to do here. Instead, we are going to need to make a trip to Solstheim.